but quite a few. Pass it on to Trevor.
All right, everyone, hello, and thank you again for coming today to another one of our meetings. We're really excited to start our meeting. We have an awesome speaker that's actually making his way from the emergency room right now as we speak, so we're hoping that he's here in time. We have a lot of awesome events coming up within the next month or two. We want to go ahead and inform you guys about those events. Before we go into our AMSA events, I just want to inform you all of our 6th annual Medical School Symposium. Raise your hand if you've been to the Medical Symposium before. So a few of you. This is the 6th year in a row that the Medical Symposium is going on at UCF. The Medical Symposium event is put on by the President and Vice President of the pre-health organizations here on campus. On February 23rd from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. you will have the chance to interact with 17 medical schools, not only in the state of Florida, but around the Caribbean, as well as a few schools from, I can't remember the exact states, but there's a few schools from out of state. But every medical school in the state of Florida will be there, as well as a few other Caribbean schools and schools around the country. At the Medical Symposium, our keynote speaker that will be speaking for about an hour and a half is the President of the American Medical Association of the U.S. It's kind of a big deal. We're really excited to have her here as our keynote speaker. And after the keynote speaker, there's a chance where students will be able to speak to the medical students from all 17 of these. It's actually on a medical student panel. So when you ask the question, hey, how did you study for your MCAT? One guy's not answering you, hey, I took Kaplan, hey, I took Princeton, hey, I did my own thing. There's one student from every medical school on this panel that will tell you, hey, I did this. Hey, this class was awesome to take at UCF because now I'm in medical school and I wish I had taken it. Things like that, you'll get your questions answered at this medical school symposium. Apart from the medical school panel, it's actually, I want to say it's $25 for registration. And apart from that $25, you're getting their lunches included within that $25. After that, you get to sign up for 6 medical schools and attend their informational. So not only are you hearing from the medical student, but you're also going to an informational from that med school. As you guys know, AMSA, we love going to med schools around the state of Florida, but it's really hard for you guys to go and take off a Saturday, leave lab on a Friday or Thursday, whatever date they give us for our tour. It's really hard to go there. This is a chance for you guys to see what these med schools want for medical students right here at UCF. Again, it's February 23rd, and the cost is $25, and that includes your lunch. One thing that I want to really push to you guys is that the Princeton Review, who is doing our registration, has a promotional going on that if you go in person to the Princeton Review and you pay your $25 and sign up for this medical school symposium, you also get a free, the best 168 medical schools that's valued at about $23. So you're getting the book for free if you go to the Princeton Review and just say, hey, my name is Bob, I really want to go to the medical school symposium, sign me up for these schools. And then you also get this book. So if you get this book, you're really paying $2 to attend. Your lunch is free. So I really, really encourage you guys to attend this medical symposium. Every year we send out registration, we release registration, and it gets filled. About 350 students. It's not just for AMSA, it's for the entire university as well as Valencia students. So I strongly encourage you all to register as soon as possible and to make sure you guys, if it was me and I'm on campus, man, might as well just get a book for free. It's free. It's part of your registration. Just go to the Princeton Review, tell me your information, have your cash or check, and you can get the free book. So Medical Symposium, if you guys have any questions, I'll be here after the meeting and definitely answer those. All right, now back to some AMSA events. All right, so this Thursday we have Ask a Doc. That's actually a health center event that the health center is putting on. What Ask a Doc is they'll have their medical staff from the health center on a panel, and you'll be able to go ask them their questions. So not only can you hear from a doctor, I know there's definitely a DO and a sports exercise physician there as well. There's also nurses, a dietitian, a few other medical personnel that will be there to ask questions. So it's a great event. I believe they have some light snacks there, so definitely stop by if you're on campus. Another initiative that AMSA is working on right now is a clothing drive with the Orlando Women's Shelter. The Orlando Women's Shelter needs clothes not just for women, but for any age, any gender. If you guys can stop by our cubicle that's located in OSI, we're going to have a box there. Just simply drop off the clothes in the box between now and our next meeting. And there's going to be a sign-in sheet. So please only sign in if you drop off clothes. I'll just be mean. Don't get points if you don't need them. It's going to be about 3 points. Just drop off the clothes. Make sure you sign in the sheets to get your points. And now up to Heather.
Hey guys, thanks for coming out. I know everyone's been having exams last week and this week, so
Thank you for taking the time to come out. Just two quick announcements. The UF trip is still happening on February the 8th. If you want to go, you cannot say yes on the Facebook event. We're going to ignore it. You have to email medicalrelations@premedamsa.com. Also, if you are going on that trip and you do have a car, please let medical relations know because we're kind of tight when it comes to carpooling. So we're bringing a lot of people. Next thing, study nights is back, Monday nights. It's going to be at the Princeton Review instead of Kaplan office. And the Princeton Review office is on the left side of the arena. And then my last announcement, we're having a really awesome speaker next meeting. We're having a representative from Georgetown University flying down here to talk to you guys about the master's program, the one-year master's program that they have up there. It's an incredible program. You take a whole bunch of science classes to prep you for medical school, and they pick 10 people from that class to be automatically accepted into their medical school. It's an incredible opportunity, and I highly recommend you to bring your friends, people who aren't even in AMSA but are pre-med students and they're interested, have them come because it'll be a really great speaker, and we want to fill up the room. So that's it from me.
Hey guys, so as you all know, our bowling night was supposed to be last week Thursday, but it's going to be this week Thursday instead. It's still at Boardwalk Bowling. The 1 hour bowling starts at 8, but the carpool will be behind Milliken at 7:30, so whoever needs a ride there will be there to take you. And then, another thing. In the back, on the back table, there's an MCAT box, so you guys just go ahead and submit your answers to the MCAT questions because you do get points for that, so please, that's such an easy way to just go ahead and get points, even if you're wrong, if that's okay, don't worry about it. And then also Valentine candygrams for the pediatric unit at Florida Hospital East, and we're also thinking Arnold Palmer. I was thinking it'd be a really great idea to make Valentine's Day candygrams for the children in the pediatric unit. So there's also going to be an entry sheet on the back table, so you guys go ahead and put your name, email address, and all that, and I'll send you more information about when we figure out the day. And then also Relay for Life. You can go ahead, there are donation envelopes in the cubicle, so one of the big things that they need for Relay for Life is to obviously raise money, do fundraisers, and get donations. So there are donation envelopes in there that you can go ahead and use to ask around for donations. And then also you can contact Zubin Matthews with any ideas on Facebook for the Relay for Life event that they have.
Hey everyone, hope you guys are having a good Tuesday. So I have a couple things I want to talk about. The shirt situation we're having. We're going to be putting an order for some smalls and mediums. So that should be in the next general meeting and the meeting after that. So within the next month or so we should have those t-shirts for you guys. Also, those little flyers you guys got with Yogurtopia, it has the wrong date, it was from last time. But I printed out too many last time and I didn't want to waste paper. So we're going to recycle those and be green. So if you guys are going to come out tonight, it's 2 points. It's at the Yogurtopia across the street from campus by the BP and Tenders and Mad Hatter and the station and all that stuff. You get 2 AMSA points. It's yogurt, I mean, it's good. You should come out. Also, we have our volleyball tournament in 2 weeks. It's coming up close. If you guys want, go ahead and get up a team of 6. It's $10 donations per person, and it's really easy to register. It's right on our website. The first thing you see is this thing we have. Click on it, and it registers you. You have to put in your team and all that stuff. We want as many teams out there as possible. We had 19 teams last time. We want to make it at least 20 this time. So grab your friends. You don't have to be able to play volleyball. A lot of people don't know. They just come out just for fun. It's a lot of fun to actually go to this event. And lastly, the calendars, the Chick-fil-A calendars. We need that money in today for and any calendars that you did not sell for those of you who took them. So if you can see me or Wes after this meeting, and go ahead and give us the calendars you didn't sell and the money. So that's all I have.
On that note, I'm trying to make a volleyball team, so if anyone's interested, Matt Hanley and I, who's the PR director, just come talk to me after the meeting, or before you leave, we can get you on my team. That being said, who got involved with AMSA for volunteering, community service? Not a whole lot of people, that's kind of depressing. Hopefully, you're just like too shy or didn't hear what I said. But our first main volunteering event is going to be this Friday at the Winter Park Care and Rehab. It's a nursing home. You have a lot of fun with these old residents. Some it sounds bad. interesting to talk to. Some of them really are very appreciative that you're there, and some of them don't know what's going on. But it's still fun to be around them and to play games. You know, you help them out, and you also get a snack. It's a TGIF. You can email volunteering at pre-med answer. Talk to Robin. She's in the back over there. Can't really see her because she's little. Also, I know I said Boys Town foster tutoring was going to start this week. It's actually going to start next week because, well, things just keep coming up. You know how that happens, right? What else? So hopefully, if you're paid AMSA members, you'll be getting emails, or if you're friends with us on Facebook, you've been seeing the shadowing opportunities that come up every week. You may have noticed that Wednesday night you get an email for the Thursday one, and which has 2 people. The first 2 people to sign up can go. And then Sunday you get Monday and Tuesday. Are they all at Oviedo? Just
No.
Tuesday and Thursdays at Oviedo, Shepherd's Hope. Monday is another health center. Anyway, so these evenings we're offering shadowing opportunity, which is a really great thing because I've been in AMSA 5 years, and you don't really get to see that often the way that Heather has introduced it to AMSA. So it's a great opportunity. We're going to try to keep it going as much as we can. So take advantage of it. Also, just to mention, Shackathon is February 16th, where you build a shack and try to raise money, and the team that makes the most money with their shack gets to build a house with Habitat for Humanity. And I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's a week-long event, right? It'll be on Memory Mall. You can just go check it out and see what people built. It's really cool. I did it like 5 years ago. You know, I'm old, I guess. Anyway, Nighthon's the last one. Benefit the Children's Miracle Network. You kind of dance, party for kids. They have a lot of fun stuff and food. It's 18 hours, raise money. Join our team at getinvolvedUCF.com. Is that what it is?
You can just go to Nighthon and get involved. You can pre-med AMSA group.
Yeah, Google Nighthon, you'll see it. And then we're a big group or small group. Anyway, you don't have to pay to join because you're joining our team. So it's a lot of fun. April 13th, but try to raise money now. Just set a goal. And I think that's it. Do you have any questions about anything I said? Yes. Oh, in the back there's a buddy break. It's a reminder. In the back there's an interest sheet for the buddy break orientation. We don't have a specific date, but it'll probably be almost like any day after 6:30 once we get people signed up, and we'll send you about that. Buddy break's a lot of fun. And if you have any questions about that, talk to me later.
All right, good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Woo!
That was sweet. All right. One more time. Good. Just something. Yell anything. That was fun. Good job, George. Thank you. All right. I'm going to keep this short. Running group, Mondays and Wednesdays, 5 p.m. out in the nature area of the Arboretum. Please come out and find me. I've had a couple people who just like, come out and find me. We'll be halfway through our trail, and they just show up, and that's cool. That's awesome. Thank you, Alex. So come out there and find us. It's awesome. It's beautiful out there. Haven't been out there. Adopt a Road. We went out there today and kept UCF clean. It's a volunteer hour. It's AMSA points. You're doing something good. I got a little tan. It was hot as hell out there today. Global health announcements. We have an excellent opportunity going on from our global health chair. It's a scholarship/points opportunity. So I'm just going to make this short. Tinytopia, it's a scenario of a country in dire need, and if you can come up with some sort of brainstorm or a way to help them, it's on the AMSA page. It's in your newsletter, I think. Look at it. There's a $250 scholarship for the best idea. We're going to give you money, not us, but some people who we've arranged it with. So, like, do it. It's $250. We don't care what you do with it, you know. Like, do it. And then 15 AMSA points. Also, Tom's. Our global health chair is also doing Tom's. Sharon waved her hand. She'll be selling Tom's after the meeting today, cash only. What we're doing is you can buy the Toms. They send another pair to needy children in other parts of the world. And then we're going to have a party and paint them and make them all UCF and nice. It's fun. And then whoever's bottles those are, if you can find Chris Hodge after the meeting and give those to him. From now on, we'll be collecting the bottles outside of the meeting so it doesn't get all crazy in here. What's our count right now?
Like 1900.
Like, for this meeting?
Yeah.
All right, we're at like 1,900 bottles for this meeting. So keep it up, guys. You're doing a fantastic job. And if anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, if you bring in water bottles, we recycle them, and you get a point for every 3, up to 10 points. So that's what.
All right, guys. Our speaker's still on his way. He's coming over. We just got in contact with him, so we're gonna jump ahead a little bit. It's really awesome that you guys are all bringing in the water bottles. We started that initiative last semester, and for the entire semester last year, we collected 6,000 water bottles, and we already, I believe, have a little over 4,000 for this 1 month. So we're doing awesome. It's a great initiative that a little group can start and influence the environment really well. We're gonna go ahead and have one of our sponsors come up and speak. Kaplan.
Hey guys, I'm Allie. I know we're doing this a little out of order, but I just wanted to talk to you guys today, not too long. We're going to try to make this fun. I'm with Kaplan Test Prep, so most of you have heard of us. If you haven't or have any questions, we have an office in the Student Union right next to the new Coffee Express Center. It's extra large. Come over there. We're right next to it. We can help you out. So, first things first. I've got Lana over there. Actually, can I grab one of the officers to help her? We're passing out information cards. What's great about this is sign up top. You want MCAT information, and we'll send you only MCAT information. The other thing that's great about this is we partnered with Teach for America, and for each completed one of these, it goes on, adds you to our mailing list. In exchange, we're giving 50 cents for Teach for America. So at UCF, I signed up that I'd get 3,000 completed of these. That's not always fun, but I want to do my part, so if you guys can help us do that, even better. The other thing that's great on there is, if you haven't seen any of our links on the Facebook page, this is the way you can sign up for the practice MCAT that's going to be here at UCF and HPA. It's on a Saturday. It's February 16th, so the Saturday after Valentine's Day. What a romantic way to spend your Saturday morning of Valentine's Day doing a practice MCAT. It's actually proctored by someone who scored in the 90th percentile. You get your scores that day. And then what's nice is you have any questions, you can ask them. So it's a good way to see how you're doing. Now, I like to think of Kaplan as a resource for you guys. I'm not going to come in here and do a huge sales pitch because I hope that by now a lot of you have heard the reasons why we're different. On the back of your pulse, let's see, what colors did I do them? I think the white pulse has a 2013 MCAT dates guide. And on the blue sheet, your agenda, every single person, every 5 of you have a different reason Kaplan sets itself apart from the other test prep companies. So if you have any questions, you can easily look at those, or again, come see us in the office. So, again, I said I wanted to be a resource to you guys and kind of make this fun. So I kind of wanted to show you something that correlates to the MCAT test dates coming up in 2013. I really hope that if you're a first-year super senior, a junior, or a sophomore, you pay extra attention to this in a fun way to show it. So there were 2 extra chairs. There's 2 extra chairs right there. If I can get all the officers to come up here, there's 6 officers, right?
Yes.
So we're gonna play musical chairs. I've got 5 chairs. If you 2 of you guys can grab 2 of those chairs in the front row. Oh, Trevor's got 2. All right, I've got 3 over here. The reason I want to show you guys this is you can just line them up in a row. I do not want anyone to trip. There's no wires, but please don't trip. So there's 5 of them. There's then we're gonna have to get one away. All right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we gotta bump one of them out. The reason I'm doing this is the date that you can first submit applications. And an application to med school includes everything you're going to do with Dr. Lopez, your whole completed packet, and your MCAT score. That doesn't mean just your packet with Dr. Lopez. It means all together. The very first day you can submit that to almost every school is June 1st. The thing I hear all the time is people saying they're going to wait to summer to prep. So that means they're not going to get their MCAT score and turn in that completed application to the time that people have already been accepted. So, to visualize that, I actually went and I asked Trevor his favorite song, and we're going to listen to that and play musical chairs.
I wonder what that could be.
I did tell him I might make a little bit of fun of him, but, so keep on filling out your cards. In a little bit, Alan, who just stuck in, and Lana will come around and pick them up. But, so this was his favorite song. I hope you can all hear. All right. What this report is, unfortunately, not that this is real, but Heather, unfortunately, you're not going to be one of the lucky ones that got into med school. Because people all applied in June when there was the most seats available. So I'm going to take two of these chairs away. So these are for people who are going to be prepping in summer. And you guys are all still playing. Heather, come on up. Hands, come on. That was early minutes only. Come on. Alright. So this is for people who wait and prep over the summer. This is how many seats are left in med school. So. Alright, I want to see competitive side. Who's going to get in? There's only 80 seats at UCF.
All positive.
As early as July. So if your schedule permits, and there's always reasons that, if your schedule doesn't allow you, you're not done with your coursework in time, prep as early as possible for the MCAT. The reason I said this is good for sophomores, think about that when you're planning your classes. Because if you can start prepping early spring, I have some people who even start prepping in October or November to take it the following summer. Sorry, Surrey was talking to us there. I just wanted to physically show you how important it is to prep and prep early so you get that advantage and can get in with the most seats available. Do you guys have any questions? Other than that, I just wanted to show a fun way actually come to life. Do you guys have any questions about the practice tests we're doing, anything like that? So what I'm going to do is have Alan go on this side and collect any completed ones. You can kind of pass them down. And Lana, if you'll come on this side. We'll be here after the meeting as well. We left the student union, the office there a little bit early. There were a couple pieces of pizza left, so if you want to swing by after the meeting, please feel free. We'll come by, and there's probably about half a pizza left of each kind. So please come down there and get an extra slice if you guys want. Or if you have any questions. The other thing I did want to tell you guys is the price for the MCAT went up. The AMC has a tendency to raise their price every year, and in turn, it makes their resources a little bit more expensive. I don't like telling you guys that, but we're very upfront. Kaplan is raising its prices on MCAT courses on February 1st. So it's only a few days away, but we did get a little head start knowledge. So I'm trying to tell people, if you know you're going to prep any date this year, if you book before February 1st, you're going to be saving $200 on on-site classes, the class here at UCF. On top of that, you get your AMSA discount. So you just need to show us that you're a paid member of AMSA, and if you book before February 1st, you'd be getting over $400 off. Some of the competitors have already raised their prices, so they're already that additional $200 more, so you'd be saving that on top of everything else. So we want to make sure you guys have that little head start, get in there, and as you saw with musical chairs, it could even be easier with your application. All right. All right. Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed the pizza. And come in if you have any questions and talk to us. If you guys know Erin, she was an officer last year. She actually works for National. She's in the office on Thursday, and she's a great resource to talk to about MCAT prep. All right. Thanks, guys.
I wanted to point out that I was the only officer that got into med school both times.
Oh my God.
But aside from that, and speaking of the MCAT, right after this meeting, we are going to have an MCAT course option. So how she mentioned that the MCAT course went up, we're going to start our option at $1,300. So you're all, say there's two people and someone's only looking to spend about $1,400, you get it for $1,500. That's still a huge savings. So our auction is going to go on right after this meeting, right in this area. Course auction for the MCAT. All right, and like we always say, we want to bring you guys the best speakers possible. We want to, encourage everyone, to be the best medical school applicant. And today's speaker was not only part of the Marines, not only a chief resident, but also serves the Orlando community as a vascular surgeon. If we can all give Dr. Adam Levette a warm welcome.
Apologize ahead of time. I did have to change the clothes, but I got stuck in the operating room. I didn't think I was going to make it here today. And someone got shot in the abdomen, blood, guts everywhere, all the stuff you guys are thinking you want to do. And I got stuck, and my partner actually was able to scrub me out and get me here, and I just got here a couple minutes ago. So I'm happy I'm here. I thank Laura for inviting me. It's a great thing. I always was telling her as I was walking here, and this is what you guys have to remember. I walk around a lot. I have adult ADD, and I think a lot of surgeons have that. My whole group has that. We're a very little hyper group. Laura can attest to some of that when she was with me this past semester. The main thing to know is that you're always going to give back. So if you get into med school, which I think most of you should, if you want to, you will. The thing is, you have to really decide whether you really want to. And that's what I want to tell you right now, today, and that's what we'll talk about a little bit about. But the main thing is if you want to get in, once you get in, you're the whole time, people are going to teach you. In med school, they're going to teach you. When you get into your residency, they're going to teach you. If you do a fellowship, you're going to be taught by somebody. And then when you get out, guess what? It's now your turn. It's always been sort of the old adage in medicine has been see one, do one, teach one. And it's really not the same anymore because you can't be given so much leniency and being allowed to do things by yourselves. Because there was times even when I was in residency that the person that's supposed to know what's going on, he wasn't even in the room, he or she, and we were doing the surgery. Once you reached to that point where they felt that they could trust you, they weren't even anywhere around, and you were just doing it yourself. Now there's been a lot of laws passed because I think sometimes people trusted too many people, and then surgeons were billing for things when they weren't even there, and so there's been a lot of changes. The main thing I've been asked to talk to you, I guess, really about why I become a doctor, how I became a doctor, and why you should be a doctor. And my thing is that for me, I came from a very different background than probably a lot of you. I came from a very poor background. And where I went to med school and everything else, I was the exact opposite of everybody there. My parents didn't have a lot. My parents, there was no doctors in my family. And I actually went to the Marine Corps right out of high school. And my parents actually signed for me to go to the Marine Corps at 17. The only reason they signed for me to go at 17 was you had to graduate high school to go into the Marine Corps. And they didn't think I was going to graduate high school. I flunked most of my classes in junior year and my senior year. And I went to a school where 95% of the people went to college. And very few did anything in the military. What are you talking about? You're going to go in the military? But for me, that's what I needed to do. And I went into the Marine Corps and served my country. I thought it was a great thing. But after I served my country, I was like, there's no way I'm doing this for the rest of my life. I even went so far, I just, not to say that I was, smart, but just didn't apply myself. And I went in and I scored real high on, the military entrance test. And they wanted to put me in all these intellectual things, for the Marines. There's not too much intellectual in the Marines, let me tell you that. Well, for what they had, they wanted me to do that. So I went in and I was like, no, I'm going to be a grunt. Which is an 0311, which is somebody just on the front line. I had a recruiter. That's what he's like, you're a real Marine, you'll be a grunt. That's what he wants. You're going to kill people. Yeah. So now I'm in a field that I want to save people, right? But I wanted to kill people. 17, I wanted to kill somebody. I don't know why, but that's what I wanted to do. Went into the Marine Corps, went through boot camp. I got to far. I never saw combat. I actually got out right before the first Gulf War. And I was disappointed. I wanted to kill people. They brainwash you. That's what you want to do. You want to kill people. And when I got out, a few months after I got out, I was like, why did I want to kill anybody? That's crazy. But that's what they brainwash you. They make you think you want to do. So then I actually went to a community college when I first got out of college, and I really had no idea what I wanted to do. I know I wanted to do something in the sciences. I always loved science and math. I love math. I went through calculus was like, nothing to me. And I did calculus too, but then the math became like this math that I couldn't even pronounce. And y'all can tell my grammar is not the best. So I didn't even know what they were talking about. Some of the words, I'm like, well, forget all that math. I'm not going to be an engineer because I thought about being an engineer. Then, I was doing different things, and I started taking more into sciences. And I was, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I was older. I was going to stay in the Marine Corps because they had a program called the MESETS program where you could actually stay in. You were active duty, but they paid for your undergrad. And you actually went to school, and then you just owed them time afterwards. But when it came time for my contract to be signed, it wasn't in my contract. And the recruiter, again, you'll hear all kinds of stories, but the recruiter said to me, oh, we'll write it in later, you'll get it, don't worry. I knew a guy that had been in 2 more years waiting for that still to come in, and I was like, forget that, I'm out. And so I did community college. I worked about 40 hours a week while I was in undergrad. I was a bartender, waiter, you name it, I did it. And again, I didn't come from any money, so I had to pay for everything. And so I actually finished my undergrad in 3 years and 120 credits exactly. I didn't waste 1 credit. And during that time, people, you always get asked the question, this is something you guys all have to think about. When you go to your interviews, they're all going to ask you, why did you want to become a doctor? Why do you want to be a doctor? Every interview asks me that. And the first time I got asked was actually at the University of Maryland. I'm from Baltimore, in-state. I'm thinking, oh, in-state tuition, that's going to be great. I got blindsided. I didn't even know about that. And I'll get back to that, why I had no idea why I wanted to be a doctor. When I went through undergrad, I did my courses. I said, oh, I'm going to do something with science. Oh, I'm going to do biology. I can get the easiest credits in doing that. And that's what I did. I loved the sciences. But then I'm like, well, what am I going to do with biology? Am I going to be a teacher? Am I going to be, what am I going to do? Maybe I have to be a professor. I don't know. And then I'm working as a bartender one day. And this is, became my story that I told one of my interviews after I actually thought about it. But it really made sense to me. I think that's really the time that I decided I wanted to be a doctor. Was here I'm at a bartender. I had learned some first aid in the military. I'm sitting there. One of the bars I worked at, I had a few different jobs. One of them was in this nice restaurant. This guy sitting there talking to me with his wife, and they're sitting there talking to me. He says that he's just laughing away, drinking away, eating steak. He starts choking. At first, I think he's playing around, and then he starts turning blue. So I'm not even thinking. I run out from behind the bar. I come behind. I give him the Heimlich maneuver. Out comes a piece of steak, and he's like gasping. He's like, oh my God, you just saved my life. You just saved my life. And I'm like, you know what? I did. I'm thinking to myself. Big tip, yeah, saved your life. What do you drink? I better give it. But then that became, I'm like, this is great. What can I do and get this feeling? It's not just, anything about ego or anything else. It's just when you save someone's life, I can't tell you what kind of feeling that is. And it's just because you did something to have that person carry on. And what I do, I'm a surgeon, and I feel like I save people's lives. I save a bunch of different people's lives. I save people's legs. I do everything. It's just such a great feeling knowing that you're helping people. And so that became my story. That's why I wanted to become a doctor. It was that story right there. That was, hey, that's a great story, I thought, I'll just tell this story. And it really was the reason why I decided to become a doctor. At first, I didn't want to do it. It's a lot of school. You think you got classes now, this is nothing. This is nothing compared to what you have classes, what you have coming for if you go to med school. Med school's hard, it's not easy. It all depends on how you look at it and how you approach it. But the main thing is, all have that talk about, hey, prepare now, you gotta do it, I tell you all right now, everybody with me, deep breath. It's a long road. And if you're gonna sit there and stress out now in undergrad, you're not gonna make it. And I've seen people burn out, I see people burn out now, even my colleagues, some of them are burning out. Because it doesn't stop. All I do is run. I tell you that right now. But would I change what I'm doing? Not for anything in the world. I love my job. But your life is not your life. It is not going to be your life. You got to love what you're going to do if you're going to do it. So the year I go through undergrad, now I decide, hey, I'm going to become a doctor. Because I really didn't know what else I wanted to do, and I didn't know how much, I was like, I didn't want to do all this schooling, and then I'm like, well, what else am I going to do? Well, I'll be a doctor. That sounds good. So then I'm like, well, I'm going to be an orthopedic surgeon. I worked out a lot, always played sports through school and everything else. That's a good field, just a jock field, guys out there. The orthopedic surgeons are all the macho guys. Let's go ahead and do that. That's what I'm going to do. So I do all my volunteering in that. I volunteer. Y'all got to volunteer. You got to do. You can't just get straight A's. There's 100,000 people with straight A's. You got to do something else. Either it's volunteer, research. I say volunteer. Find something that you think you might like to do and volunteer at it. No matter you're volunteering, doing your work, you guys actually seeing patients. You might see blood and be like, there's no way I can deal with that, you know, and you go into internal medicine, you know, but I mean, or you see blood, we're nasty people. Humans are nasty. I mean, there's nasty stuff that comes out every hole we have. I'm telling you, you might not be able to deal with that. You might not want to be a doctor. But, you know, hey, I'm going to be a doctor. So what I tell you right now to have a story, my first interview, I didn't have my story. So they asked me, why do you want to be a doctor? I give them, you know, some story. And then they asked me, also you need to know, who do you admire the most in the world? Because they're going to ask you that. I can guarantee you. I mean, I've been out for a while. They're going to ask you that. They're just looking at your character. My first time, you know, the first interview, who do you admire the most? I'm like, excuse me, I don't know who. I'm like, I got them. I'm going to show them that I'm confident in myself and everything else. I admire myself a little bit. Good answer, right? Hey, so I'm confident and everything else. I'm like, look, you know, I came from nothing. You know, I went to the military. You know, I worked myself through, you know, college, everything else. And then afterwards, I got out. I'm like, they just thought you were a cocky somebody. You know, guess what? I didn't get into Maryland. I got in almost every other. You know, I got acceptance letters from almost every other place that I applied to. I didn't get into Maryland because I wasn't prepared. I'll tell you right now, be prepared. Ask people that you know that are applying now and all that. Ask them the questions they've had at an interview because it's important. You need to be prepared. The person that goes in there timid, shy, you know, fumbling with their words, everything else, they're the person that's going to have trouble getting in. I don't care if you have straight A's. People want to see that you're something other than just straight A's. Because if you're a doctor, you got to interact with people all the time. I mean, that's all you do every day. Think about it. It doesn't matter what you do, you're going to interact with people. If you're an internist, what do you do? You see 20, 30 patients a day. That's all you're doing. You're seeing patients day after day, all the time, all day long. And they don't want you to, you know, if you don't have a good bedside manner, you might be a great doctor, but unless you have some huge name for yourself, people aren't going to come see you. They want a doctor that they can come see and they can talk to. I mean, they're going to tell you about things you don't even want to know about. They're going to tell you about. My uncle, as soon as I got into med school, he's like, you know, he comes over, my great uncle comes over, we have a barbecue at my parents' house. He's like, hey, Adam, come here, I got to show you something. I'm like, what? He's like, well, we got to go in the bathroom, I got to show him. I'm like, what are you showing me in the bathroom? He shows me he's got a diverting ileostomy. Look, I pee in this bag. Isn't this cool? You know, I mean, come on, you don't want to see that from your uncle. My grandfather's asking me questions about sex. You know, I'm like, Grandpa, that's Grandma. She makes me cookies. They're going to tell you. Your family's going to tell you. Everybody's going to. No matter where you are, if someone hears that you're a doctor, they're going to tell you. I'm telling you, I don't want to bother you, but let me just tell you, I got a little paper right here. What do you think that is? You know, no matter what. It's just the way it is. So again, you have to deal with people. And so you have to be a person, you have to be well-rounded, and you have to do things than just study. I mean, people are going to tell you have to get grades, and you got to do something other than study. You got to find something else that you like, some kind of outlet, because if all you do is study, you're going to burn out. Because there's plenty of studying to do. And you can sit there and study. I have friends in med school, all they did was study. I mean, you never saw them out. All they did was study. Study with this, study with this, oh, we got this test coming, and study with that. And you just can't survive doing that. You have to have some kind of outlet to do something else. And, you know, my thing was, you know, I like to work out, I played sports, I like to fish. You know, I did all kinds of different things. I like to chase women, that's what I did. You know, anything I like to do. Anything you can do, chase guys, you know, whatever you can do. Do it, because you have to relax. Because you can't just be so stressed out. You have to do something to relax. You just can't be there. So then I go, you know, I get accepted, you know, to a bunch of different med schools. And during my interview at Tufts, where I ended up going, which is like, you know, of course I picked the second most expensive, you know, medical school to go to. But, you know, there at the interview, when I got an interview, I was telling Laura earlier, it's a psychologist. And I'm telling her my story, and now I have a better story. You know, I'm not the most person I admire most. You know, I start talking about my dad, you know, and all the stuff that he had done when I was younger and stuff like that. And, you know, and it's, you know, sometimes you feel like you're just telling a story Well, you really are. I mean, you get asked the same questions all over again, and your interviews never stop. You're going to get interviewed for, you interview for med school, and then you get interviewed for residency, and then if you do a fellowship, you interview for that, and then you interview for your job. It just seems like it never stops. And so I tell the stories, and she's like, you're completely different than everybody else here at this school. I mean, I had no money. Everybody at my school, their dad was paying for their, education. Most of them, their dads were doctors and everything else. I'm completely different. And she's like, you're coming to my school because you're different. And so that's, she noticed some difference in the school. So that's where I go. So I go to med school. And I'm like, again, I have adult ADD. I can't sit still. And so I had decided that, I'm going to, I need money. I'm borrowing the max amount of money that I can borrow. But I still don't have enough money to do the things that I like to do. Because I tell you, I didn't just study all the time. I didn't study all the time. Maybe I was just able to, and some people weren't. Maybe it was just that I felt that I did better if I wasn't studying so much. And then everybody you have to know what degree you can do it, how much you have to study, but you also have to know the limit of how much you have to study. And I think I got to stress that to you now. I'm going to keep on going it over again. You just can't study all the time. There's only so many hours in the day, and you got to learn to relax because there's so many tests in med school. They try to burn you out. I mean, they try to burn you out. They want to see who burns out. I say about 15% of my first year med school class dropped out. Things that I think are a little different now, but they dropped out because they got burnt out. Your first 2 years are the hardest. First year is probably the hardest because, the thing is, in undergrad, you set the curve, for your classes, right? Most of you probably, you get that A, everybody's pissed at you because you got that A, right? When the curve, you were the top person. Guess what? Everybody in med school class, they were that top person also. So it becomes a little different. And I'm not trying to scare you, I'm just trying to let you guys know that you have to start to relax and understand that. Everybody in your med school class was that top person. Or most of them were the top 5, you know what I mean? And so it's a little different. All of a sudden you're like, wow, I got all these A's, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is a little harder. And they're throwing stuff at you left and right, information. You're like, wow, I'm supposed to know all this? You're memorizing, every artery, every vein, every muscle, the insertion sites, the muscles on the bones, all the different, you're coming up with every kind of acronym you can think of just to remember everything. I mean, people used to try to come up with the kinkiest kind of stuff just to help them remember. If it's something like that, you're going to remember it. Seriously, if it's something boring, you're not going to remember it. So during med school, I worked about 20, 30 hours a week during my first 2 years of med school. And because I had to. My third and fourth year, I couldn't work, anymore just because, you start doing your clinicals. I just couldn't do it. So I go up to Boston. Boston's a great city. If anybody's never been there, it's great. If you're into sports, it's great. Patriot. So, so I went to all the different sporting events. I, saw all Boston, all the surrounding areas. I worked. I went to med school. Med school is great. Tufts is a great school. I love it. It was great. We were the pioneers now. It's big now. It's basically something called PBL, problem-based learning. We were one of the first schools that actually started. They pioneered it at Tufts right around the time I was there. And basically, they just, instead of just sitting and lecturing you all day long, I mean, how long can you sit in a lecture? All day long. I mean, literally, classes most days were from like 8 or 9 in the morning to about 5 or 6 at night. And then you're studying, at night sometimes, because you've got to be ready for the next day, because they're moving on. They got a whole bunch more that they're trying to cover. And then you got tests and, everything else. And so you got to move along, and sort of figure out things and how much you're going to do. So they have this thing called PBL, and basically they come in and they present a patient. And they start showing the different signs and symptoms that the patient has. And then you break up into these little groups. They're smaller groups. And y'all someone will, petechiae, what's petechiae? And then what's this and this. And you try to come up with diagnosis about what different people have. And by doing that, it was great. You actually learn some medicine and learn some things as you're going on. And then in your third year, you go out, you get the white coat. That's what everybody wants. They want the white coat. You got the white coat, the short white coat. I'm a doctor. You walk through the hallway, you think you're bad, you think you got everything, until a nurse asks you something. They're like, oh no, I'm just a med student. But then you start learning stuff. You go through your different rotations. You you start figuring out what you want to do. And I don't know how people figure it. It's still hard. I went through third year and I liked everything. Every rotation I went through, I liked. Internal medicine, thought it was great. Here you are, you're sitting there, you're taking care of these patients' problems, every kind of problem they have. That's great. Then I went to psych. Is it so great? You're sitting there talking about people's problems. I had a guy, anorexic patient was my patient. I sat there and talked all day. All we did was talk about his problems. And he actually would open up. I mean, it's just an amazing thing. You don't realize it, but you sit there and this guy's pouring his life out to me. And I'm a med student. I'm not even a doctor. He's just sitting there and he's just telling me everything. I mean, everything about his life. You're like, wow, it's actually pretty interesting. You're like, it's just a good feeling that he trusts me to tell me this stuff. I mean, you don't go out and start telling your buddies, what he told you or anything, but I mean, it's an interesting feeling. I got molested by some 50-year-old lady. I'm like 20-something. She was bipolar. Orderlies had to come pull this lady off of me. She was so crazy. And I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. I got molested by a 50-year-old lady. I'm like 20-something. It's just funny, just all these different things. So then I did OBGYN. I even like OBGYN. I love giving birth. Actually, not giving birth. I'm here right now, I'm giving birth. But actually delivering babies. As a med student, depending where I go, you get to deliver. It's an amazing thing. Besides when things go wrong, which happens, that does happen sometimes, it's just an amazing time in people's lives. To see that joy that they feel. The mom, the dads, big burly men bursting out in tears when they see their kids for the first time. It's an amazing feeling. And I don't care what you do, and I'm going to keep on saying, you can't worry about money and everything else. It's just that love, that sensation that you get. I just can't explain it. Seeing, 300-pound guy crying because he just gets handed his daughter for the first time. It's just, and just witnessing child growth. It's an amazing thing. So I thought I wanted to do OBGYN. I thought, the only thing I knew I didn't want to do was peds. I had kids running around sniffling on their noses. I didn't. It was a cool rotation, but there's no way I was going to do that. And it's not really the kids. The kids are cool. It's the parents. Parents are crazy. I'm a parent, so I know. If my child got really sick, I'd drive the doctor crazy. So there's no way that I would do peds. But everything I wanted to do, surgery I liked, and then here we go, I do my surgery rotation. I want to be an orthopedic surgeon. So I told everybody after this, I'm going to be an orthopedic surgeon. What are you doing? I'm going to be an orthopedic surgeon. Even though I liked everything else. I do orthopedics. I hated it. Did not like, they're carpenters. That's all they are. Banging nails and everything else. Drills. I hated it. And as a third-year med student, my chief resident is asking me to take care of somebody's diabetes. I'm like, I'm a third-year med student. You're a chief resident. You're the hardest thing to get into. You guys are the smartest. We don't take care of that stuff. I knew right then I didn't want to do it because I wanted to do something with medicine also. Still didn't know medicine. And so I didn't want to do orthopedics. So now, what am I going to do? That's what I had told everybody. This is in my mind. This is what I'm going to do. And so I tell you also is, don't set anything in your mind. You can say, hey, I think I want to do surgery. I think I want to do medicine. I think I want to do OBGYN. I guarantee it's going to change for most of you. And don't keep yourself set in whatever you think you want to do. Because it's going to change. And if it doesn't change, you might be sorry. So keep your mind open, look at everything and wholeheartedly and try to decide what you want to do. So then I say, well, what am I going to do? I liked everything. I didn't know what I did. Then I'm like, well, you know what? I think I like surgery the most. I think I do. But again, you have a year. You have your year as a third year. And basically about your second month or third month and fourth year, you have to know what you want to do. Because you have to start putting in applications again for residencies. So you sort of have to know what you want to do. You have to have an advisor, you have to have all these things in place. So I'm like, well, I think it's either between medicine or surgery. So but I think I want to do surgery. So I make my first rotation of my fourth year of medicine. And I liked it, but I'm like, you know what? I really don't like this. It's just not for me. In medicine you have to list every patient's problem. And, to me it was like you're just sitting in an office most of the day. And again, I can't just sit in an office all day. I need to be out, moving around, doing stuff. And so surgery seemed like the best thing. So then my next rotation was surgery, and I loved it. And I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. want to be a surgeon. Now, when I was in med school, I had more hair. You know, I have long hair, but I have more hair on top. You know, so I had more hair. My hair was like you, buddy. I had earrings, 2 earrings in my left ear. I have tattoos all over me. They're all, you know, here, so I'm tattooed all up. And my advisor, you know, I'm saying, I'm going to do surgery. He looks at me, he starts laughing. He's like, not in surgery, buddy. It's an old boys club. He's like, if you want to get in surgery, med school doesn't matter, dude. I had long hair. You're good to go. So I go to, I'm gonna be a surgeon. So what I do? Cut my hair, take the earrings out, shave everything real tight and close, look all proper. Get this very conservative suit. Because again, it's interviews. You got to do what you got to do. You got to decide that's what you want to do. You got to do it. Well, there's a guy, at Orlando Regional that's an intern, now doing the second year, but he kept his hair long, kept a goatee, and he got into a place, he had to repeat his first year just to be able to do it. But but he did. So he told me I was a sellout when I told him that's what I did. So that's what I did. So I get it. Then the determination is now, not only do you want to do surgery, medicine, whatever, but do you want to do academics, or you think you're going to be more private practice? You don't have to know that right away when you're getting out. But it's sort of, for me, it was a decision I wanted to make, because either you go to your Hopkins or wherever where everything's, you have to wear a tie coming out of the OR and everything's all prim and proper, or you go someplace like I you walk around in scrubs all day and no one cares. That's what I wanted to do. That would just fit my personality. I know I didn't want to do research and everything else, and I pretty much knew that I wanted to do vascular surgery at that standpoint. It's hard to get into different fellowships, but. So I went to a community practice, general surgery in D.C., Washington Hospital Center, where all they did was operate. When I got there, the guy's like, if you want to operate, this is the place to come, because all you're going to do is operate. We operate so much that we got to hide the amount of surgery that we do, because we do too much surgery, and there's a point where it becomes too much. So that's where I go. You have to, again, now you got to rank. Again, you have to make decisions, and you're constantly having to make decisions. So now you got to rank, where you want to go to your residency. You have to rank them from, how many places you applied, 1 to 20 or whatever, and then they rank everybody that they interviewed, and then it tries to meet the top of each. So actually, that was my #1 place that I wanted to go, was there, and I got it, so I was lucky. And I go there, I have a great time, but let me tell you, things have changed now, but I've never worked so long. And I thought, hey, I'm working through, med school, I'm working through college, I'm working all these hours. I've never worked as many hours as I did in residency. I fell asleep standing up, operating. My chief resident had to yell at me, hey, Adam! Because I was operating, I fell asleep at like 3 in the morning. Because that's how tired I was. We'd be rounding, I'd sit down for a second if I wasn't the one talking. I fell asleep driving home. I fell asleep and woke up to hear a car horn, and I'm like driving. My keys were out of the ignition somehow. I was like stalling out. I don't know how I did it. Somehow I did a sleepwalking. I have no idea. I don't even know if that's really true. That might be just somebody true. I really don't remember, because like my 3rd year, we worked like 130 hours a week. Now you only can work 80 at the most. I say only. That's still a lot of hours working 80, but you can only work 80 at the most. And most residencies now have night floats, meaning that you work from, you come in maybe 6 in the morning, and you leave at 6 or 7 at night, and then, you're not working that night. There's a night float, there's someone working 7 to 7, so, you're not working at night. I worked 6 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, a lot of times to 8 o'clock the next night, then back at 5:30, 6 the next morning, and not sleeping. I'm not trying to brag. I think it's great that they have the hours now that they do, because it really wasn't unsafe. If I'm falling asleep, operating on somebody, that's not right. That's just not right. But it's a lot of. It just came to the point, and I was the type, again, adult ADD. Even when I had time to sleep, I didn't sleep a lot of times, because I felt if I went to sleep, guess what? I had no time to do anything. No time to do the things I like, work out, fish, chase girls. I didn't have time to do any of it. So I just stayed up. I always said sleep's something I'm going to do when I die. Because I'm not sleeping now. Well, eventually, you do crash and you have to go to sleep. But it gets to the point, where you're just so tired. But I would come home sometimes. My roommate would laugh at me, because I would just come home, and he was like, he was a cool guy. He knew I worked a lot. He wasn't in medicine. He'd make me dinner sometimes. And I'd be home and I'd fall asleep before eating dinner. I just wake up for breakfast, basically, And that alarm, he would have to wake me up or set my alarm for me. But now you don't have that anymore, so if you're thinking about surgery, like, oh God, I don't want to do that, again, it's 80 hours. Everything is 80 hours now. Like I said, most people have night float, so you work, you work Monday through Friday, and then, then there's people that maybe on the weekend you might have to work 24 hours, but that's rare. And then you have to have like 2 weekends off a month. I wouldn't have any weekends off sometimes. I wouldn't have to go 2-3 months not have a day off. So I mean, unless I had vacation for some reason. So it's much better now, but I loved it. I loved every minute. Operating was the coolest thing in the world to me. From the time I was an intern, when I was just what we call holding retractors, and somebody, again, I can talk forever, so I have to look at the time. What time do I have to?
6 months. Keep on.
I'm good. There'll be time for if there's questions or anything. I'm a very talkative person. So, so then during residency, I worked, like I said, but I thought surgery was the coolest thing in the world. And if you, I can't really talk for people that want to go to medicine. Like I said, I liked everything in med school. I knew surgery was my thing. And I do like medicine, but surgery was just it for me, and I just thought it was it. From the time I was intern just holding retractors for my attendings to do stuff, to the time I got to do my very first surgery. Let me tell you, when I got to do my very first surgery, I did an appendectomy. I was on cloud 9. I thought I did the surgery. I really didn't do anything. My attending was in there, basically doing everything. But it was my surgery, I was the best. And then I had attending when I'm an intern that was a vascular surgeon. And people get these things called pseudoaneurysms when we do cardiac casts, or casts of the heart. Put a needle into the artery in the groin. And you put what's called a sheath in there, and then that's where they go up and they look at the heart. And I did the same thing with the legs. But I was at a place where there's a lot of cardiac casts, and people would get these things called pseudoaneurysms. And pseudoaneurysms, when we pull that sheath out, we hold pressure, and usually the artery seals, that hole in the artery seals. Well, sometimes it doesn't seal, of course, there's complications and everything. Sometimes it didn't seal, and back when I was a resident, we didn't do this other stuff, so we operated a lot of these patients. And so he would just take his knife and he would slash it open, there'd be blood everywhere, and he'd be holding a retractor in there, and he'd be like, here, sew! And you can't see, and there's blood everywhere, shriveling up like a water fountain, and he's like telling you to sew, and he's like, and then he's gonna be yelling and screaming, today I became a vascular surgeon, call mom! He's like making fun of you, and it was so cool. There's blood everywhere, you just think it's the greatest thing in the world. That's what there's blood everywhere. So I mean, it just was the greatest thing. It's just, as tired as I was, I loved every minute of residence. Because I was doing everything, you could go home or you can stay and do this Whipple, which is this huge surgery. You're like, I'm staying and doing that Whipple. Because you might not get another chance to do that. You just want to do it. That's what you wanted to do. That's what you love. And so that's what you do. So then I go through that. I pretty much thought I wanted to do vascular surgery because no one wants to do vascular surgery. I always want to be different. And so vascular surgery is a very tedious surgery. I I have to look through magnifying glasses when I'm operating. I sew these little vessels together. And it's actually a surgical practice that you actually have medicine involved with surgery, and you actually get to follow your patients. Most surgery, you take out their gallbladder, you never see them again. You do neurosurgery, you drain their bleed, or take out their tumor, you never see them again. Vascular surgery, you actually follow your patients. And Laura will tell you, I actually know my patients. I joke with my patients. I mess with everybody. I mess with my patients. We laugh back and forth. And I know my patients. I know my patients' families. I know when they went away. I know all the things about them when their grandparents have a new grandkid. And you actually get to follow your patient. And for me, that's what I wanted. I wanted something that was a little bit of both. So I got the medicine, because you still do some medicine with vascular surgery. I got to follow my patients. I actually have a relationship with my patients. And I get to operate. What's cooler than operating? And so I get to do that. And so I decided I wanted to do vascular surgery. So I was lucky enough that we did a lot of vascular surgery at my residency. And so I did a lot of vascular surgery during my residency. And then I went, again, the same thing, my fellowship was either, hey, do I go to some big academic place, or do I go to more a community type thing? That's what I decided I wanted to do. I'll go to Atlanta Medical Center, and then I go to Arizona Heart, because that was where this guy named Ed Dietrich was the pioneer of endovascular surgery for surgeons, which is basically balloons and stents. What your cardiologists do. That's what I do for the legs. And so I do that in the arteries and veins of the legs, and the belly, and the carotid arteries, which are the arteries in your neck. I basically do everything besides the brain and the heart. I do everything. All the arteries and veins besides that. Varicose veins, if any of your moms have varicose veins. I operate that. I mean, it's sort of a whole host of different things that I do. I find it, very rewarding. I love it. And I can tell you, the one thing I tell people is you got to love what you do. A lot of people are going to tell you, don't go into medicine. What do you think about going into medicine? Medicine's changed. Don't go in. There's a lot of older doctors that are going to tell you that. Don't go to medicine. You don't make the same amount of money. I don't make anything what I used to make. It's all these rules and all these regulations. And people tell you that all the time. And the truth is, doctors don't make what they used to make. I mean, seriously, my senior partner who just retired, like a couple years ago, he said he was making 50% of what he used to make. And I'm like, I think we make a pretty good salary now. He's making 50% of what he used to make. And to me, what I say is, well, guess what? That's all I know. Is what I'm making or what I'm doing and the rules and the regulations. So it doesn't matter to me. And guess what? By the time you guys get out, if you are a doctor, you're going to make less than I'm making now, because I'm probably going to end up making less. But the money doesn't matter. You can't do it for the money. I'll tell you that right now. If you're going into want to be a doctor because you're like, oh, doctors make good money, you don't want to do it. You're going to be unhappy. There's a lot of other things that you can do that make more money or the same amount of money and work a lot less. Because you're going to work a lot still when you get out. And just think about it. When I was, in med school, I was even later, because remember I went to Marine Corps first. My buddies were on Wall Street. I had friends doing all kinds of different things, and they're making tons of money. And here I am, barely can afford anything. I'm still eating ramen noodles at 27. And I don't think that's a good meal. And so they would take me out and do everything else. So it's not about the money, because there's so much to do and so much. And what I'll tell you before I sort of roll it to the end and let you guys ask some questions, because I also have to get going, is that, just, again, the feeling. Just a few weeks ago, I had this patient get sent to me for a second opinion. He's got this sore on his foot that's not healing. He's about 80 years old. And the surgeon where he had seen him wanted to cut his leg off, amputate him. And they, the family's like, oh, we don't want that. We want a second opinion. So they bring him to me. He's sick. He's not like a healthy guy. And probably, the guy wasn't wrong in saying to amputate because this guy's sick. So I say, no, let's just do an arteriogram and let's see whether we can do anything. So I do an arteriogram, which is, again, the needle stick. You shoot the dye. You look where the blockages are. And I do this new procedure where I basically open up his blood vessels. And it is actually probably about a month ago, so I just saw him back a few weeks ago. He comes back and sees me a few weeks ago, and his foot's basically healed now. Just getting blood. He's just needing blood. And he no longer was having pain and all that. And I come back and go in the room to see him. As soon as I get into the room, his wife comes up and gives me this huge hug. And just sits there and hugs me and just starts crying. I mean, hysterically crying, sobbing. First, I'm just hugging her, and I'm telling her it's okay, what's going on, what's wrong. And she goes and she looks, tears flowing down, and she's like, if he had got his leg cut off, he'd be dead right now. He would not have been able to live with his leg cut off. And you gave him a second chance at life. To me, I didn't even get paid for that because they had no insurance. To me, that was payment right there. Just again, be able to help that patient out, and the gratitude, and just knowing that I changed that guy's life. If he had lost his leg, this is, getting burly kind of guy, very proud. He wouldn't be able to lose his leg and keep on going. For me, that feeling, knowing that I helped that guy, was all I needed. And they were talking to me, oh, we're going to pay you, we're going to find ways to do this. Like, whatever, we're not worried about that. All we're worried about right now is that you have your leg, and we're happy that he's here and everything else. And so you got to, enjoy being a doctor, enjoy whatever you do. And if you're here right now and you're not sure whether you want to be a doctor now, like I said, go volunteer, try to find out. Because once you get into med school, it's not the time to find out. You're spending a lot of money, spending a lot of time. You got to know that whether this is what you really want to do. And again, remember, take a deep breath. If you feel yourself getting so nervous, so worked up, take a deep breath. Life is too short. You got to enjoy what you do. And if you're that nervous, maybe this is not what you want to do. You have to relax and enjoy yourself. I see too many. I have med students come through my office all the time. We used to have med students rotate with us in our at ORMC at different other hospitals we go to, and they're so wound, so tight. I just tell them the same thing: relax, enjoy life a little bit. Your residency, your fellowship, it's going to come. Do your work. Be organized. If you're not organized, that'll kill you. Because again, if you're working 130 hours or even 80 hours a week, if you're not organized with what you're doing, or organized in med school, you're not going to be able to get through what you need to do. Be organized and enjoy life, and then the main thing is enjoy what you do. Again, would I change what I do right now? I would not change it at all. I love what I do. You know, again, my phone's been beeping in here, you know, like crazy as I'm sitting here. I know there's about 10 calls that I have to make when I get done here with people with different questions. But the main thing is I wouldn't trade it for the world, and that's what I want you guys to have when you finish and do what you want to do. And give back. Give back. Come here, give a talk, teach residents, have med students, pre-med students come in your clinics or whatever you want to do. It's not always the easiest thing. I mean, no matter what, it slows you down in what you're doing and you're trying to be faster. I can tell you when I operate without a resident, I do it in half the time I do it with a resident. Sometimes a third of the time. But guess what? Someone else sat there with me when I was doing it. I wasn't fast when I first started. You know, I didn't know what I was doing, and so you have to be willing to get back. So that's all I have to really say. If you guys have any questions, I'm free to ask them, you know, answer them for you.
With the time that you put into surgeries and what your career basically is like, how do you make time for families? Have you got a son?
I have a daughter, and I do have a stepson also. It depends. I'm actually in the middle of a divorce, so that might not be the best thing. But that wasn't the reason why I got divorced. For my stepson, you know, I was involved when he was young. I actually I coached every one of his teams from the time he was little. I came into his life when he was 2.5, and I coached from the time t-ball, baseball, football. That's all he played, was all those. And I was basically the head coach or assistant coach for every one of his teams. Now, did I make every practice? Did I make every game? I made about 95% of them. Again, it's just being organized. And I'm always on the go. I'm always rushing everybody. And that's just because I'm a type A personality, and I'm just always on the go. But you have to make the time. There's a lot, you know, like my senior partner, one day he told as a joke, and I didn't think it was that funny. He said one day when his son was a teenager, he said, you know, God, when did you get so tall? And his son said to him, when you were in surgery. And so, I mean, you know, he was a workaholic. He was never home. And so I always make time. My partners knew that, you know, or know that family is very important to me. And so we work around that, and I would always make the time to get home. You're going to have to make the time. It's not just going to come. You have to make the time. And you know, you're not going to be at every little thing. You know, you can't make time. Like now, my youngest, she does competitive gymnastics. I arrange my call schedule around when she's going to have, you know, competitions, you know. You just have to make the, and then instead of being able to go hang out, you know, I'm at her gymnastics, you know, thing, or, you know, whatever. You just have to make the sacrifices, and you're not going to know that you're not going to make everything. But if you're willing, you're going to make most of it. And you know, and there's a lot of women surgeons and women doctors that, you know, people. I know I'm not being sexist at all. Women, you know, how am I going to have my family? You know, I want to have every residency when you get out. I mean, if you want to, you know, have a baby, you just to make sure you get in the partners that are willing to, you know, cover for you. When I was in residency, we had a couple of female surgeons that, you know, went on maternity leave, you know. I mean, you carry on with your life. I would encourage, and some females say, well, I'm not going to be a surgeon because how am I going to have a life and be able to take that? That's not, again, I'm not being sexist, but there's a lot of women surgeons that do it. You just got to make the time. And they're great moms on top of it. You know, you just have to make the time to do it. And then, you know, just like dads, I think I'm a good dad. I'm there as much as I can. You know, I'm not there maybe first thing in the morning to get her to school every day, but now, you know, now I do. You just make the sacrifice, you make the time to do it. You'll have it, you can do it. And like I said, the hours aren't as bad as now, you know, for as when you're in residency, but when you get out, the hours, you know, sometimes I work more than 80 hours in a week. Now, even while I'm out, but you make the time, you'll be able to do it.
For like activities that people do, like, so like, let's say just undergraduate and probably med school, which ones, what do you think that would probably stand out to academic, to admission committees?
What kind of activities can you do while you're now?
Yeah, like well, stuff that's not even has to do, that's not a college organization, it's something like you do with the community.
Well, that's what I said, volunteer work. You know, I think volunteering in hospitals is good. Volunteering in I volunteered in orthopedic clinics. If you could volunteer in any of the clinics for people without insurance, they're always looking for help. And you're going to be able to see more and do more, you know, in those clinics, and it looks good and it's good, and you're volunteering, you know, and actually helping somebody at the same time. I say, you know, this, you know, being involved with this is great, but you want to do something outside of, sort of academic world. You want to do something that actually shows that you're a little more well-rounded. For me, it was, also I worked, I, did something else. It's doing something with sports, showing that, while you're an undergrad, if you're involved, either you're an athlete, on the collegiate level, or you're just in a club doing some kind of sports, that's good too. It just shows that you're rounded. People like you to be rounded. They don't want you to just be a straight A student. I mean, they want you to be a straight A student, but they also want to see something other than that. It's just like when you're, an undergrad, doing sports or anything else that helps you, can help you get into college. You want to do something that's shorter. I always tell people is you want to try something, do something that makes you stand out. Because everybody's sort of, CV or resume looks the same. You want to do something that makes you a little different, if you can. It helps. What else?
What do you think is the best to have as far as for med school between having patient hours, research, or volunteers?
What is the best?
Yeah.
Depends again, if you're trying to get in a very academic university for med school, research. Research. If you're not sure exactly what you want to do, then I think volunteering, in a healthcare field will help. Showing your interest, showing that you're putting the time in, I think that helps. And if you can do both, then you can find the time to do both, then do that. But again, don't burn yourself out. I had one pre-med student that was with me that from here, she's here, but I don't want to talk about her, she's here. But I'm like, when do you do anything for yourself? I mean, she worked, she was in my office, she went to school, and then her Sundays were her day off. She started volunteering at the hospital on Sundays. I'm like, when do you do something for yourself? I mean, she was putting the time in, but you got to find, again, like I said, find some time for yourself. Anybody else?
Last question?
Okay. Let me get somebody different. Sorry.
You said that you didn't do well in high school, and then once you got into college, you became well with discipline. Could you kind of go into what changed your mindset? Because it seems like people.
It was going out in the real world.
Was it like military?
Yeah, I think it was partly the military, but it was going out in the real world. And I knew, again, I just did, before I just got to the rebellious stage, I was, typical rebellious teenager. I just didn't want to do anything with academics. I had the smarts to do it, I just didn't want to do it. And so once I got out in the real world and realized that, hey, I just don't want to, sit there and dig foxholes all day. I mean, that's literally all we did. We dug holes in the ground and we marched. I mean, at first, first year was sort of fun, but after that, it sort of got, a little boring. It just didn't feel what I wanted to do, And so then I just, I graduated with 4.0, but it's just, I just applied myself. That's all it is. I think that's what the difference is. And I think I needed the time off. If I had gone to college right out of high school, I wouldn't have done well, because I just wasn't ready. So, you just have to be ready. I wasn't mature enough, plain and simple. And again, I always had ADD. I know I was undiagnosed with ADD. I was just very hyper. And I needed to just, I think, getting older, getting a little more mature, I think that helped. I think
One more.
that's it.
We could have one more. One more, Linda.
How old were you when you applied to that school?
How old was I?
Yeah.
Let's see, I was 25. No, actually, no, 24. Well, I was applying, I was 23. I got in, I was 24. Because I didn't, I was 4 years to 21. Yeah, I was 24. So I did my undergrad in 3 years.
All right. We can give
Thank you. Contact information. I think you have. Do you have my email? Yeah. If you can get it from me, if you have a question or just as you're going through stuff, you just want to throw something by me, I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Okay. All right. Y'all take care.
All right, guys, thanks again. Before we leave, if you did not receive a red raffle ticket, please put your hand up so we can